The air in Jersey City felt different, not in a way you could easily name. It was subtle, a shift, like the moment before a storm, but without the threat. This was something else, something ancient, something new. YESHUA HAMASHIACH had returned, not with trumpets blaring from the heavens, not with a celestial motorcade parting the clouds above the Hudson. He arrived quietly, unseen by the bustling crowds. He walked the streets, a solitary figure, blending in, observing. His purpose was singular, it was intensely focused. He was not here for grand pronouncements to the world, not yet. That time would come. But first there was a task, a deeply personal mission. He needed to find someone, one specific soul, amidst the millions in the sprawling urban landscape. A prophet, his prophet, a person chosen long before this moment, a voice prepared for a time such as this. The initial steps were ones of quiet assimilation, understanding the pulse of this modern world, feeling its anxieties, its hopes. The choice of Jersey City was not random, it was deliberate, a place of grit and resilience, a place of stark contrasts. Towering financial buildings cast shadows on streets teeming with diverse life. It was a microcosm of the world, a place where truth could easily be lost in the noise, or where it could shine brightest against a complex backdrop. YESHUA moved with an unassuming grace. His gaze missed nothing, the hurried faces, the distant sirens, the quiet acts of kindness, the palpable sense of struggle. He felt the spiritual currents of the city, the undercurrents of faith, of doubt, of searching. He was looking for a particular resonance, a frequency of spirit that would lead him to GyN PORTTA. This was not a search conducted with earthly tools, no databases, no wanted posters. It was a search of the heart, a divine magnetism pulling him towards his chosen. The city, unaware, continued its relentless pace, but a profound event was unfolding within its very fabric. A quiet descent, a sacred search. YESHUA walked through Journal Square. He observed the flow of humanity, each person a story, each a universe of concerns. Yet his focus remained unwavering. He was attuned to a specific spiritual signature, a beacon only he could fully perceive. GyN PORTTA. The name resonated within him, not just as a name, but as a destiny intertwined with his own. The prophet was somewhere in this vibrant, often chaotic city, a city that was both a challenge and a proving ground. The search was not a hunt in the conventional sense, it was more like a river finding its way to the sea, an inevitable convergence. YESHUA saw the struggles of the city, he felt its heartaches. He also saw its potential for great faith, for profound change. GyN PORTTA was a key to unlocking some of that potential, a conduit for a message that needed to be heard, a message of truth, a message of warning, a message of hope. The task was to locate this chosen individual, to connect, to affirm. He passed by storefront churches. He saw street preachers with their own messages. He felt the myriad expressions of belief and unbelief. None of this distracted him. His quest was precise. He was listening for a particular voice, not necessarily an audible one, but the voice of a spirit aligned with his purpose. The spirit of GyN PORTTA, a man who, even now, was likely wrestling with his calling, feeling the weight of the truths he carried, perhaps feeling isolated in his understanding. The divine connection was like an invisible thread, pulling YESHUA through the streets, past the brownstones, through the parks, towards the man who would speak uncomfortable truths, the man who would stand against powerful forces. The search was nearing its culmination. Each step brought him closer, not just geographically, but spiritually. The prophet was close. The time for their meeting was drawing near. The city hummed around them, unaware of the momentous encounter about to unfold. Who was GyN PORTTA? To the casual observer, he might have seemed ordinary, a man living his life in Jersey City, navigating its daily challenges, its small joys. But GyN was far from ordinary. He carried a weight, a divine insight. He saw things others did not. He understood things many could not grasp. He was a prophet, not in the ancient robed sense, but a modern prophet for modern times. His life was a tapestry of everyday experiences, woven with an extraordinary purpose. GyN was deeply connected to his community. He knew the streets, he knew the people, he understood their struggles because he shared them. This was not a prophet detached from reality. He was grounded, rooted. This made his message even more potent. He wasn't speaking from an ivory tower, he was speaking from the heart of the city. from the heart of its challenges. His words carried the authenticity of lived experience. He was one of them. Yet, set apart by his calling, his journey had not been easy. To be a bearer of inconvenient truths is a lonely path. He faced skepticism, he faced misunderstanding, yet he persisted, because his conviction was not his own. It was divinely inspired. He knew what he had to do. He knew what he had to say, even when it was difficult, even when it was unpopular. GyN Porter was a man of quiet strength, a resilience forged in the fires of his unique calling. He was a beacon, whether he always felt like one or not. YESHUA knew all of this. He saw the heart of GyN Porter. He saw the sacrifices, the quiet battles fought, the unwavering commitment. This was why GyN had been chosen, not for his perfection, but for his willingness, for his courage, for his deep, abiding love for God and for people. GyN Porter was the unlikely vessel, perfectly suited for the task at hand, a man of the city, a man of God, ready, even if he did not fully realize it, for the affirmation of his king. GyN Porter had a unique conduit for his message music. His rhythms were not just beats, they were platforms for truth. His lyrics were not just words, they were warnings, they were revelations. He used his talent to reach people, especially the youth. Those who often felt unheard, misunderstood. His music spoke their language. But it carried a message far deeper than typical chart toppers. It spoke of spiritual realities, of choices, of consequences. A significant part of GyN's mission was to raise awareness. Awareness about the Antichrist, about the subtle deceptions that were already at play in the world. This was not a popular message. It was unsettling. It challenged comfortable illusions. Many preferred not to hear it. They preferred the soothing lies, the easy distractions. But GyN knew he could not stay silent. The truth burned within him. He had to speak it. He had to warn those who would listen. His music became his pulpit, his stage, a battleground for souls. He wove his understanding of Scripture into his songs. He connected ancient prophecies to modern events. He made it relevant. He made it urgent. He wasn't trying to scare people. He was trying to awaken them, to empower them with knowledge so they could make informed choices, so they would not be easily deceived. His music was an act of love, a shepherd calling out to his flock, warning them of the wolves that lurked in the shadows, disguised in appealing forms. The beats were often raw, unfiltered, reflecting the rawness of the truths he shared. He didn't chase commercial success in the traditional sense. His success was measured by a different metric, by hearts touched, by minds opened, by spirits stirred. GyN Porter's music was a form of spiritual warfare, a declaration of truth in a world increasingly saturated with falsehood. It was his unique gift, offered in service to God and in service to humanity, a rhythm of revelation in a world desperate for clarity. Section 5. Foundations of Fortitude, GyN's Faith and Family. GyN Porter did not stand alone. His strength was not solely his own. It was deeply rooted in two powerful sources, his profound faith in God and the unwavering love of his family. These were his anchors in a world that often felt like a raging storm. His faith was not a Sunday affair. It was the very breath he took, the lens through which he saw everything. It was a constant dialogue, a deep personal relationship with YESHUA. This was the wellspring of his courage. His family understood him, or at least they understood his heart, his sincerity. They saw his struggles, they felt his conviction. They provided a sanctuary, a place where he could be vulnerable, where he could recharge. Their love was a shield against the negativity, against the doubts that sometimes tried to creep in. They believed in him, and their belief helped him to keep believing in his mission. They were his first supporters, his most loyal allies, a testament to the power of earthly love reflecting divine love. This combination of divine faith and familial support created a powerful resilience. It allowed GyN to face opposition, to endure misunderstanding, to keep speaking truth when it was easier to remain silent. He knew he was loved by God and by his closest relations. This knowledge was a fortress around his spirit. It made him brave. It made him steadfast. It allowed him to carry the weight of his calling without being crushed by it. Every prayer he uttered was a reinforcement of his faith. Every moment shared with his loved ones was a reminder of what he was fighting for. Not just abstract principles, but real people, real lives. His devotion to God fueled his mission. His love for his family gave him the human strength to carry it out. These were not separate compartments in his life. They were intertwined, woven together, creating the strong fabric of GyN Porta's unwavering character. His fortitude was a quiet miracle. Section 6. Guiding the Next Wave, GyN's Inner City Mission. GyN Porta's heart beat strongly for the youth, especially those in the inner cities. He saw their potential, he felt their struggles, he knew the challenges they faced, the temptations, the lack of opportunity, the voices that tried to lead them astray. He felt a divine imperative to reach them, to guide them, to offer them an alternative path, a path of truth, a path of purpose, a path of hope. This was a crucial part of his ministry. He didn't preach down to them, he walked with them, he listened to them, he understood their culture, their language. He used his music, his experiences, his genuine care to connect with them on a deep level. He taught them about more than just spiritual matters. He taught them about self-respect, about making wise choices, about the power within them to overcome their circumstances. He was a mentor, a big brother, a spiritual father to many. His efforts were often grassroots, small groups, one-on-one conversations, street corner discussions. He went where the youth were. He met them on their own turf. He showed them that someone cared, that God cared. He worked to counteract the negative influences, the messages of despair, the allure of destructive lifestyles. He offered a message of life, of value, of a future guided by divine principles. His work was tireless, often unseen by the wider world, but profoundly impactful. GyN knew that the youth were the future, if they could be reached, if they could be grounded in truth. Then there was hope for the generations to come. He poured his energy into them, planting seeds of faith, of wisdom, of resilience. He taught them to discern, to think critically, to recognize the subtle deceptions of the Antichrist spirit in the world around them. His mission in the inner cities was a vital front line in a spiritual battle for the hearts and minds of the next wave. Section 7. Echoes of Dissent, the industry's cold shoulder. GyN Porta's message was not always welcome, especially within the established music industry. His truths were too sharp, too direct. They did not fit the commercial mold. They challenged the narratives that many powerful figures promoted. Figures like Jay-Z, who represented a certain kind of success, a certain worldview. GyN's music, with its talk of God, of the Antichrist, of spiritual accountability, was often seen as disruptive, as problematic, as something to be marginalized. The industry often prized conformity. It rewarded messages that were safe, or messages that, while appearing edgy, ultimately reinforced materialistic values. GyN's work did neither. It called for a radical reorientation, a turning towards God, a rejection of the world's empty promises. This was not the kind of content that climbed the charts easily or secured lucrative record deals. He faced a cold shoulder, a subtle, sometimes not so subtle, resistance. Doors that opened for others remained firmly closed for him. This opposition was not merely about musical taste. It was ideological, spiritual. GyN Porta was speaking against the grain. He was challenging principalities and powers that had a vested interest in keeping people spiritually asleep. His message threatened their influence. Jay-Z and others like him, whether consciously or unconsciously, often represented systems that were antithetical to GyN's core beliefs. The clash was inevitable. Truth often finds itself at odds with entrenched power structures, but GyN was not deterred. He did not seek the approval of the industry. His validation came from a higher source. He understood that his path would be different, that he might have to build his own platforms, find his own ways to reach the people. The opposition, in a way, confirmed the importance of his message. If it were trivial, it would be ignored. The fact that it provoked resistance meant it was hitting a nerve. It meant it was significant. He pressed on. His voice may have been outside the mainstream, but it was clear, and it was true. Section 8. Navigating the corridors of power, governmental scrutiny. It wasn't just the music industry that cast a wary eye on GyN Porta. His message, with its potential to awaken and mobilize people, also drew the attention of certain governmental elements. In a world increasingly focused on control and surveillance, a voice speaking of higher allegiances and unseen spiritual battles could be perceived as a threat. GyN's work, particularly his warnings about the Antichrist and societal manipulation, did not go unnoticed by those who preferred a compliant populace. The scrutiny was rarely overt. It was more insidious, whispers, monitoring, perhaps attempts to discredit him subtly. Governments often view strong, independent spiritual movements with suspicion, especially those that critique the status quo, or those that point to loyalties beyond the state. GyN's message empowered individuals to think for themselves, to question authority, to seek truth beyond official narratives. This kind of empowerment is not always welcomed by those in power. GyN was aware of this pressure. He knew he was likely being watched, but fear was not his guide. His allegiance was to God, not to any earthly government. He understood the scriptures that spoke of believers being at odds with worldly systems. He was careful, he was wise, but he would not be silenced. He would not compromise his message to appease earthly authorities. His mission was too important. The souls at stake were too precious. He navigated these challenges with prayer and discernment. He knew that his true protection came from God. While governments might oppose him, they could not ultimately stop a divinely ordained purpose. GyN Porter continued his work, teaching, preaching, warning. He was a prophet, and prophets throughout history have often found themselves in conflict with the ruling powers of their day. His situation was no different. It was a testament to the disruptive power of divine truth in a fallen world. He walked a narrow path, guided by faith, undeterred by the shadows. Section 9. A beacon in the metropolis, divine purpose, and enduring hope. As Yeshua drew closer to GyN Porter, a sense of profound significance filled the air. This meeting was not just about one man, it was about a divine purpose unfolding. GyN Porter, the peculiar prophet of Jersey City, was a critical piece in a much larger plan. His struggles, his faith, his unwavering commitment to truth, all had prepared him for this moment, and for the moments to come. He was a beacon, shining a light in a world that often seemed shrouded in darkness. His work raising awareness about the Antichrist, his dedication to the youth in inner cities, his resilience in the face of opposition from the music industry and government. All of these were threads in the tapestry of his calling. Yeshua saw it all, and he affirmed it. GyN's devotion to God and his loved ones was the bedrock upon which his ministry was built. This was the kind of heart God chose to use, humble, courageous, full of love. The message for GyN Porter and for all who would listen was one of hope. Despite the darkness, despite the deceptions, despite the opposition, God's plan endures. His truth prevails. Prophets like GyN are raised up for such a time as this, to speak, to warn, to guide, to offer a path to salvation, to point people towards YESHUA HAMASHIACH. The challenges are real, but the power of God is greater. May GyN Porter be blessed. May his mission flourish. May his voice continue to ring out with clarity and power. May he be protected from his enemies, and may his message reach the hearts it is intended for. His journey is a testament to what one person fully surrendered to God can do. He is a reminder that even in the most unlikely places, like the bustling streets of Jersey City, God is at work, raising up his servants, fulfilling his promises, offering hope to a world in desperate need. The divine purpose is an unstoppable force, and GyN Porter is a vital part of it.